Good afternoon and welcome to Tuesday's Tea and Chat from Wiltshire Libraries. My name's Steph. I normally work at Melksham Library, and it's great that you can join us and listen to some of the readings that I've got prepared for you this afternoon on the 28th of July. I hope you've got a nice hot drink or cold drink for that matter. It's a nice sunny day. So yeah, I've got my coffee here, so I'll be having a few sips of that throughout the next 20 minutes or so as I'm sharing some poetry that I've chosen for you. So do message if you're joining me live. We'd love to hear your messages. And yeah, but I thought I'm going to start with a little short one. And it's actually by one of the Romantic poets. So we've had a number of Romantic poets over the last couple of months. We've had poems from Wordsworth, and various other ones, but I've not done one by Byron yet. So I've got a little one here from Lord Byron, and I was thinking a month or so ago, I know my colleague Basil from Trowbridge did on Westminster Bridge by Wordsworth. Beautiful poem, but also a beautiful. It's been set to music, and there's some beautiful versions of it. I sang in a choir, and we did a fantastic version of it. And we also did a sung version of a poem by Lord Byron, She Walks in Beauty. And so I'm going to show this. It's quite a short romantic poem, lyrical poem. And but as I say, if you get a chance, do Google a musical version of it. There are many different versions. Various composers have set this to music. The one that I particularly like is by Alexander Lestrange. It's just beautiful melody. So if you get a chance, maybe check this out. But I'm going to start, I'll start reading now. So this is She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meets in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and oh that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. That's She Walks in Beauty, and I can recommend looking for a musical version of that. Some beautiful musical versions of that available. I'm going to move on now to a rather longer ballad. It's a romantic ballad. It's first published in 1906, and it's by Alfred Noyes, and it was voted in a BBC poll back in 1995. It was voted, it came 15th in the nation's favourite poems. It's been studied by many people at school, including my mum. So this is one of my mum's favourite ones, and it's The Highwayman. It's in a couple of parts, and it starts off as a romance, but a little like Romeo and Juliet, it turns into a tragedy. So this is The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French cocked hat on his forehead and a bunch of lace at his chin. I do apologise for this. I thought I had silenced my phone, but obviously not, so I'm quickly going to silence this. No, it was silence, but it's very right. Right, here we go. I'll start that one again. I do apologise. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He'd a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to the thigh, and he rode with a jewelled twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle, under the jewelled sky. Over the cobbles he clattered and clashed in the dark inn yard. He tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barred. He whistled a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. And dark in the dark old inn-yard, a stable wicket creaked, where Tim the ostler listened. His face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollows of madness, his hair like mouldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robber say, "One kiss, my bonny sweetheart, I've after a prize tonight, but I shall be back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, then look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." He rose upright in the stirrups. He scarce could reach her hand, but she loosened her hair in the casement. His face burnt like a brand, as the black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast, and he kissed its waves in the moonlight, oh, sweet black waves in the moonlight. Then he tugged at his rein in the moonlight and galloped away to the west. He did not come in the dawning. He did not come at noon, and out of the tawny sunset before the rise of the moon, when the road was a gypsy's ribbon looping the purple moor, a red-coat troop came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord. They drank his ale instead. But they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of her narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her casement with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, and hell at one dark window, for Bess could see through her casement the road that he would ride. They had tied her up to attention with many a sniggering jest. They had bound a musket beside her with the muzzle beneath her breast. "Now keep good watch," and they kissed her. She heard the doomed man say, "Look for me by moonlight, watch for me by the moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, though hell should bar the way." She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till now, on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it. The trigger, at least, was hers. The tip of one finger touched it. She strove no more for the rest. Up she stood, up to attention, with the muzzle beneath her breast. She would not risk their hearing. She would not strive again, For the road lay bare in the moonlight, blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood of her veins in the moonlight throbbed to her love's refrain. Plot, 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 plot. Had they heard the horse hoofs ringing clear? Plot, 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 in the distance. Were they deaf that they did not hear? And down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwayman came riding, 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 and the redcoats looked to their priming, and she stood up straight and still. Clot, clot, in the frosty silence, clot, clot, in the echoing night. Nearer he came and nearer. Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for a moment. She drew one last deep breath. Then her finger moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him with her death. He turned. He spurred to the west. He did not know who stood, bowed with her head o'er the musket, drenched with her own blood. Not to the dawn he heard it, and his face grew grey to hear how Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, had watched for her love in the moonlight and died in the darkness there. Back he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him and his rapier brandished high. Blood red were his spurs in the golden noon, wide red was his velvet coat. And when they shot him down in the highway, down like a dog on the highway, and he lay in his blood on the highway with a bunch of lace at his throat. And still, of a winter's night, they say, when the wind is in the trees, when the moon is a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman comes riding, riding, riding. A highwayman comes riding up to the old inn door. Over the cobbles he clatters and clangs in the dark inn yard. He taps with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. He whistles a tune to the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love knot into her long black hair. That was the Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. And one thing that he really makes good use of in this poem, I'm just going to drink a coffee, is his use of alliteration. It really kind of gives it that kind of what's the word I'm trying to think of. It just really kind of keeps it going and really kind of shows that movement. And I think, yes, you've got the ghostly galleon, you've got the coat of claret and breeches of brown, and cobbles he clattered and clashed, and he goes and he uses quite a lot of alliteration through that this ballad to really good use, I think. So it's no use that that's a favourite poem. It really is quite it's got some powerful emotions in there. I'm going to move on now to a short extract from the Song of Solomon's, which is actually from the Holy Bible, the Old Testament. Now, I don't know whether you know this, but a big section of the Old Testament is actually written in poetic form. So you have the Song of Songs, but also the Psalms and a couple of the other books. And this is, I say, Song of Songs. So it's the most romantic of the books, and it's sometimes used as readings in weddings. And this was one of the readings at my wedding a number of years ago. And this is just a short extract from the chapter 2, and it's from the beloved's perspective. It alternates from the lover and the beloved in this book, and this is an extract from the beloved. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is my lover among the young men. I delight to sit in his shade, and his fruit is sweet to my taste. He has taken me to the banquet hall, and his banner over me is love. Strengthen me with raisins, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. His left arm is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, by the gazelles and by the does of the field, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Listen, my lover, look, here he comes, leaping across the mountains, bounding over the hills. My lover is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattice. My lover spoke and said to me, arise, my darling, my beautiful one, and come with me. See, the winter is past. The rains are over and gone. Flowers appear on the earth. The season of singing has come. The cooing of doves is heard in our land. The fig trees form his early fruit. The blossoming vines spread their fragrance. Arise, come, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me. And that's from the Song of Songs, or also known as Song of Solomon. I'm going to move on now from romantic poetry, and I'm going to finish with having a look at this extract. It's actually from one of the songs from a comic opera by Gilbert and Sullivan. So it's actually taken from the Pirates of Penzance, and it's one of their most iconic pieces of music, like most iconic songs. I am the very model of a modern major general. So this is written by W.S. Gilbert. I'm obviously not going to sing it. I'm going to speak it, and I'm going to speak it slightly more slow because it's often sung at a very high speed. It's a patter, and it's really sung very quickly normally. It's an example of a patter song, which is often fast, very fast tempo, rapid succession of rhythmic patterns, and each syllable of text corresponds to a note. But because it is often sung very quickly, you sometimes miss some of the actual words. So I'm going to read it slightly slower, so you'll be able to pick up on some of the words. So here we go. I am the very model of a modern major general by W.S. Gilbert. I need to put my teeth into this and have a drink of coffee. A lot of words to go around. Okay. I am the very model of a modern major general. I've information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England, and I quote the fights historical, from Marathon to Waterloo, in order categorical. I'm very well acquainted too with matters mathematical. I understand equations both simple and quadratical. About binomial theorem, I'm teeming with a lot of news, with many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. I am very good at integral and differential calculus. I know the scientific names of beans, animalculous. In short, in matters vegetable, animal, and mineral, I am the very model of a modern major general. I know our rhythmic history, mythic history, King Arthur's answer, Caradox. I answer hard acrostics. I'm a pretty taste for paradox. I quote in elegiacs or the crimes of Heliogabalus. In conics, I can floor peculiarities parabolous. I can tell undoubted Raphaeus from Gerardas and Zophanies. I know the croaking from the frogs of Aristophanes. Then I can hum a fugue of which I've heard the music's dinner for, and whistle all the A's from that infernal nonsense pinafore. Then I can write a washing bill in Babylonic cuneiform and tell you every detail of Caractacus's uniform. In short, in matters vegetable, animal, and mineral, I am the very model of a modern major general. In fact, when I know what is meant by mamelon and ravelin, when I can tell at sight a Mauser rifle from a javelin, with such affairs at sorties and surprises I'm more wary at, and when I know precisely what is meant by commissariat, when I have learnt what progress has been made in modern gunnery, when I know more of tactics than a novice in a nunnery, in short, when I'm a smattering of elementary strategy, you'll say a better major general has never sat a G. For my military knowledge, though I'm plucky and adventurous, has only been brought down to the beginning of the century, and still in matters vegetable, animal, and mineral, I am the very model of a modern major general. Still in matters vegetable, animal, and mineral, I am the very model of a modern major general. And that's from The Pirates of Penzance, which is 1879 comic opera from Gilbert and Sullivan. As I said, it's an example of a patter song, but it's just some great lyrics. And I think it's a shame. I think Gilbert wrote some great lyrics in some of his poems, but it was only Sullivan who I think was awarded by Victoria. I don't know whether he was made a knight and poor Gilbert wasn't. So I think it was Sir Sullivan, but not Sir Gilbert, as I think I read once. Obviously, Victoria preferred the music to the lyrics, but I think he wrote some really great lyrics, and that's a really good example of one of his great lyrics. Lots of words in there that are quite unusual, and I thought I really do need to look up what these means. I mean, the first one that I've always thought, what on earth does it mean to never strategy? It just seems like it's a forced rhyming of a strategy, but it's actually a term. And as soon as you hear it, you'll think, oh yeah, of course it is. So it was just a term that was used for meaning riding a horse. So you'll say a better major has never ridden a horse. So strategy, and I suppose we have GGs, don't we? So yeah, so strategy just means rode a horse. Rhyming with calculus, we have animalculus. And I thought, okay, what's that exactly? And an animalculus is usually defined as a minute and often a microscopic organism. It doesn't have to be microscopic, so it can include just small creatures and bugs and things. But yeah, so that's animalculus. It talks about the crimes of Heliogabalus. I'd not heard of Heliogabalus before, but apparently he was one of the Roman emperors. He reigned from 218 to 222 AD. And he also talks about the Frogs of Aristophanes, which was actually the Frogs was a comedy written by the Greek playwright Aristophanes, and that was a play. It was first performed in 405 BC. And finally, the other two words that I thought, I wonder what mamelon and ravelling mean. So he says, I know what is meant by mamelon and ravelling. So do you know what mamelon and ravelling is? Well, I'll tell you. So the mamelon is a French name, and if you think about the root of words like the mammary glands and mammals, so it's the French name for a breast-shaped hillock. Okay, so mamelon obviously being related to the mammary gland, I suppose, the nipple. And ravelling is a triangular fortification or a detached outwork located often in front of the inner works of a fortress. So in military terms, you possibly would have had both mamelons and ravelins. So you might have had this triangular fortification, but a mamelon, I guess, you sometimes would build up some kind of a man-made hillock as well as part of your military kind of preparations, or you might have made use of a natural kind of hillock of some kind, from a strategic point of view. So there you go. So a few bits of information there about certain words used in I Am the Very Model of a Modern Major General. There's various other terms there that I could expand on, but I'll leave that to you. You can maybe have a look around. It's a wonderful thing about Google that you can pretty much search for anything these days. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed my choice of poems and readings today. It's been lovely sitting with you. I've been enjoying my coffee. And I'm going to share with you just before I go. I'm just going to bring this a little bit closer because I just picked these earlier. I'm delighted about my sweet peas. I've just picked these about half an hour ago. They smell absolutely beautiful. So on that note, with my sweet peas, I'm going to say goodbye. And just to say, because now we are reopening some of our libraries, so you may have seen that Trowbridge, Chippenham and Salisbury will be reopening next week, and so our tea and chats are probably moving to fortnightly rather than weekly. So there probably won't be a tea and chat next Tuesday, but there should be one in 2 weeks' time. So look forward. Hope you can join us next time. I hope you enjoyed this, and take care and see you all soon.